G'day, g'day, g'day. It's the Mathematical KM or Keith Malumbi coming to you with round 10 of the Tuggeranong Chess Club Championships. And today let me just show you people, playing Devratura. So I'm down some 230 points of rating. And yes, born in 2014, so I'm ahead some, what would it be, 45 years of experience. So we'll see how it goes. Very difficult sitting down facing a young supercomputer. Anyway, we'll see how we go. They do say the hippo is a good opening against machines. So here we go. I'm playing with the white pieces. So we're starting with the kingside fianchetto, going with the chess giants Solomon's approach. Instead of the double fianchetto, we're going with the queen's pawn. And just a few more moves. It's nice to see that I'm facing a two-pawn centre, not a three-pawn. And that's the auto move against the bishop to c5, as we're just jumping through the first 10 moves here. We get the full thick-skinned hippo. And I'm going to give you some timings at various points, because that's again something else that probably I should have taken a big 20-minute think at some point. And anyway, well, let's take a look. At this point, after achieving the full thick-skinned hippo, after move 10, I had 61 minutes on the clock. Given that you start with 60 minutes, that's not bad. It is 30-second increment. My opponent was down to 48 minutes. So I'll give you, every so often I'll let you know how the two clocks were. So let's move on. One thing I had noticed at this point, and I've got half of a plan, is I'm seeing that knight there, many other places it cannot go. And I'm thinking maybe I can catch that knight. And we'll take a look. This is, again, it's going to be a case of trying to make it perfect before pouncing. And the computer actually says I should have pounced slightly earlier. So that might be not calculating it when it is working, but anyway, we'll see. So getting this pawn to there and having this knight out of the way so the queen covers the other place the knight can get to was what I was thinking. For now, that's fine. We know we've got the b4 move should that pawn come forward. So we advance the g-pawn on its way to hassling that knight. Considered a blunder. And computer right now wants g5. While that's still a move. But looking at it now, in hindsight, from h5, where can it go? Can't go there. Won't be able to go back. It can't go anywhere from h5. So I'd be able to move my knight out of the way, and the queen's coming in on it. Maybe it makes him bring a pawn forward. Certainly, I should have pulled the trigger then. But this game's not going to be, titled Pull the Trigger like the one a few weeks ago. We were trying to totally cover all of the knight's spots, so we moved the knight out of the way. It's called a miss because g5 was best, should have pulled the trigger. And a lesser player than my 10-year-old opponent might not have noticed the discovered attack on some of the knight's squares once it's threatened by the pawn. but a player of this calibre gives his knight a square to go to. Excellent move. So, new plan. We bring our knight to G3. And what move are we up to here? This is move 9. Okay, here we go. And at that point in time, I'm thinking about getting 2 pieces on this pawn, only protected by 1 knight, seeing if we can win a central pawn, one of the other themes of the hippopotamus. And failing that, it's another piece coming towards his king, hoping to develop some sort of a kingside attack. Dev moves his queen, develops his queen, and now he's got his queen and his knight. He's got 2 defenders on that pawn. So it's not too bad. So that being nicely protected there, I had a thought about and went with... I was thinking about castling, but I'm wanting to throw everything through that kingside and madly attack. And with, maybe I'll get to castle queenside a bit later. That's my thinking, so didn't go with that. And G5, thoughts. Should he take with his H-pawn? It's safe to take back. There's a knight there. That'll let the queen through. It's unlikely to go for it, but then queen covered by the knight, the attack begins. And if he doesn't take the pawn with his pawn, he's got to move his knight, and we can cause more deviltry. If he moves his knight there, it's probably one of the only, or away. But if he moves his knight, I'm almost certainly going to take his H-pawn with my G-pawn. And if he's going to take that back, his king's even more opened up. So I thought that was not a bad little plan. How does Jeff react to that? It's called a great move. Okay. But it's the best move coming on in with that knight and allowing a path for the queen to get into the position, and his king's a little bit open. But it's still saying minus 0.75, so we'll keep cracking. And what move are we up to? This is... Knight takes G5, move 15, just time check. I've got 53 minutes on the clock and Dev is down to 18 minutes. So I wouldn't mind getting some thoughts from people who've got them on, time management. And if you're 53 minutes to your opponent's 18 minutes, should you get up and walk away for 20 minutes and have a good hard think about the situation, or keep trying to push the time? Ideas. Anyway, he's lashing out in the centre, I felt, with his D4 move. And it's basically destroyed his dark bishop for now. There's the auto response almost in the hippo is just move forward. It's best. And it's turned it around from minus 0.75 to plus a half. Because now his dark bishop is basically out of the game for now. So that was him lashing out in the middle with that. He's trying to reroute another knight to bring it around. I was thinking if I can get him to take mine, it's called an inaccuracy. H4 was best. That was the other plan, is driving that H-pawn forward to try and further open up the king. But I had a little bit of an idea, if I can get his knight to take my knight, and then I take back with the queen, then I've got the knight and the queen in there close. The G file's open, got to get a rook to it, but all thoughts. Bishop to c8 is excellent. He didn't take my knight, so I thought, well, let's protect my knight with the pawn and also allow rook swing. Now he takes, I take back. We're both playing best moves here. At the end of the game, I played, I think, 89% by chess.com, and my opponent, my 10-year-old opponent, played 93%. There you go. Oh, don't want to give anything away. Anyway, let's keep cracking. We've got a knight and a queen threatening his king. And that's move 19. Just a quick look at my score sheet. I've got 47 minutes. He's down to 10. So those time management questions are percolating here. Okay. Queen to g6. Yeah, he wants to get the queens off. I'm the one attacking. If I take his queen, he's not even going to ruin his pawns. He's going to take back with his knight. So apparently a knight takes back is what the computer was thinking, but it also thought that queen takes was best for me. I thought if I put my bishop, then if he takes my queen, I take back. I've at least got a knight and a bishop. And there's a bishop fork check in the offing. So anyway, I've protected my queen because at the moment I'm thinking I'd rather he take my queen than the other way around. Apparently he was meant to take my queen, but he's just moved a rook behind the pawn that he's probably going to push. And here's just a quiet little thing. My eyes lit up. Nearly made this mistake. I shouldn't know about talking about that, but what a beautiful double rook fork. Yeah, let's not forget about the bishop. So enough said about that. Okay. So I still wants me to take his queen, but I've castled to get both rooks over on that side on the attack. Might need to shuffle my king one to the left at some point, I was thinking, but along we go. He's played the f6 move. Now that double rook fork is not on, so I very much need to pull the knight back. Okay. He finally pulls the trigger and takes my queen. And I take his queen. On move 23, I've got 43 minutes. And, he's got 2 minutes on his clock. 2 minutes on his clock. I've got 43 minutes. Probably now is when I should have had a half an hour to think about the position and where to go with it. Guess that's getting a little more professional. This was obviously a critical moment and didn't unfortunately think it through and played potentially. I mean, the computer's saying minus 0.44 at the moment, but I felt good. I've got the attack. His king's trapped in the corner. I've got rooks coming and a bishop and a knight in the vicinity. His dark bishop's locked out. I wasn't feeling too bad about life. The best move right here was bringing my rook d across to g1. Directly, all 4 pieces all going in. Let's see if we can show that, and then we'll go to what did happen. Is it going to... Oh, let's have his move first. He's bringing his king forward. And Rook G1 is best. It's an improvement to minus 0.3. Minus 0.3 when he's got all this stuff around his king. That is interesting. But let's think about this. Minus 0.3, bringing more pieces toward the king. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And if you want to see how 1 plus 1 equals 5 for the mathematical KM, here we go with, I believe, the worst move possible on the table. And I was thinking about giving my knight a square for rerouting and getting the knight from here to here to here. Didn't think it all through because there's a big problem with F3. Look at that eval, down to 2.8 for black. And F3 is a blunder. So move 24, snatching defeat from the jaws of a really good arm wrestle, to put it like that. Anyway, so let's follow through. And I think you can all see that, bang, you'd think I'd move back, bang, bishop's got nowhere to go. Even if I take him, he takes me, bishop's still got nowhere to go. And bishop takes pawn, rook or knight. I lose the piece and a number of pawns. For what it's worth, I would have ended up with a better pawn structure if I'd moved the bishop back for what's coming next. But I've already effectively thrown the game. Let's show some kicking and screaming. That was a nice move. It takes my knight out of any of the calculations. So there we are. We take back. Haven't lost the bishop yet, but it's already showing in that eval. I thought it was an obvious move. Thank you, chess.com. By rights, pulling it back and then coming across was best. And I think that's from how the pawns would have been at the end. So he's taken, brought a rook across. Okay, he's looking at, he's threatening a rook now, and he's threatening a king-rook fork. Only really one way out of that. So it's excellent because it's out of the fork. Okay, he's lined up. He's ahead on pieces. Now at this point, and it doesn't quite work, but he's got a dark bishop and almost all my pawns are on light squares. So if I can get rid of all the rooks, and if I can get rid of his knight with my bishop and leave him with a dark bishop and me with all light pawns. I'm playing for a draw here if I can arrange that. Let's see, rook g8. That was move 40. Sorry, move 28. I've got 40 minutes and he's on 2 minutes. Remember the plus 30 seconds a move, of course. Okay. So I've moved it to where I can take back with a pawn. It's going to cost me a pawn, but I'm going to arrange. The reason I want to get rid of his knight is knights can attack pawns on light squares. So if I can render his extra piece useless, not really useless, but less useful because it can't directly attack anything. Move the king across so that he's lined up the double. That's why I know I'm going to lose a pawn. Line up the bishop on the knight. Takes, 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 takes. Okay, now it's a bit tricky. There's a pair of rooks to go, and then most of my pawns are on light squares. Ends up being a mistake, but very much instead of moving the king here, I should have moved the A pawn to A4. That would have at least helped my kicking and screaming, because it would have made it a lot more sealed off on that side of the board. So that was a mistake, but I knew I was going through the motions here. I should have written that pawn off to start with, and because again the A4 pawn should have sealed that area of the board. But yeah, if you look at the race, that his A pawn, even if I take with the B and then he takes with his B, then his new A pawn beats the king, wins the race. All over, and I shook my 10-year-old opponent's hands. A very excellent game, and it's just a real shame from my point of view, from Team Mathematical KM, that yeah, very much should have been in this situation with the continuing the attack, trying to win. But I dare say we can call it, I would call it, a win for the opening. I got the attack. I've got 4 pieces around his king. Up by, that's at move 23, 43 minutes to his 2 minutes. A definite win for the hippopotamus opening. And just a fumble in the middle game from quite a reasonable position in that middle game. So, you know, not bad for the hippo again. One more round in this Club Champs and you'll see 11 water horse games from the Mathematical KM. So, bye for now.